So I had an interesting conversation the other day about hobbies and why we are interested in some, why we aren't interested in others, and why we can stick to some and why we can't stick to others despite wanting to be into them. And I really don't know. For me, my hobby since I was about 12 has been video game development. I love making video games. And the thing I love about that hobby is that it contains a lot of little hobbies in it. I mean, each of the hobbies aren't even little. It contains a lot of big hobbies like art and sound effects, like Foley work, I think it's called, and music production, and many more. It contains a lot of different hobbies. And that's why this question interests me, because some of the different hobbies I've had to learn to do game development on my own came easier than others. So programming, for example, for me, programming, I absolutely hated it from the start. I didn't get it. It was like reading Egyptian hieroglyphs. But coding is it's the bones of a video game. You need it. You absolutely need it. Like art, you could be the greatest artist in the world, and if you don't know how to code and you're doing it by yourself, you're just going to have a picture, you're not going to have a video game. So what I did when I was younger was, and I didn't even have YouTube at the time to learn, was I had to go to the Game Maker forums. Game Maker is the program I used to make video games. And I'd download projects that people would share, and there was tutorial projects. There's really, really helpful people in the community at the time. And I learned to do things, not even through code, but through something called drag and drop, which is now called GML Visual. It's an awesome tool. I'm assuming it's just as good now as it was back then. So it's a great tool for learning how to, the fundamentals of programming without actually having to know how to code. And that's what I did for the longest time, but I could only get so far with doing that. And once YouTube became a thing, people like Sean Spalding started uploading tutorials, then that actually became the quickest way to program a game. So for me, what I'd do was I'd watch one of his tutorials, code it in GML, have no idea what was programmed, how it actually worked, and I just copy and paste it. Then I'd put it in my games. But after doing this for so long, oh geez, I'm going the wrong way. Okay, I gotta focus on the game here. Yeah, so after so long of using his code multiple times for different game projects over and over and over again, somehow his teaching method worked on me subconsciously. And I was at a friend's house one day, and I had found his old Game Maker project back from high school, and I was showing him the project, and he was asking me like, well, okay, can we add this to the game? Can we add that? And I was like, sure. So I tried adding what he wanted added to the game, and I was like, I don't know coding that well. And somehow I was able to program everything that he had asked me to implement. And I realized that Sean Spalding had Mr. Miyagi'd me into learning how to program. And from that point on, I realized I actually could code. And at that point, learning programming was just super easy to me, because the belief that I couldn't do it had been eliminated. And that, to me, turned out to be the biggest reason why I thought I couldn't program and why I didn't like it. But once that belief had been shattered, I started learning other languages. I picked up Unity and I learned to program in C#. And then after doing that, I picked up Godot and I learned to program in GD script. And I'm sure learning something like Python would be super easy for me now, because that's so similar to GD script. And C# was so easy to learn because it's so similar to GML. GML is just kind of like C# slang version. I don't know how else to put it. C# is very structured. GML is just kind of lets you get away with things. But for me, it was the perfect language to learn. So yeah, so now I'm at a point where programming is pretty easy for me to do. And I love the little things that he says when you die. It's so funny. I'll do it again just to show. Anyway, yeah, so the only reason why I stuck with programming was out of necessity, because I needed it to make games, which is what I wanted to do. And had it not been for game development, I don't think that would be a hobby or a skill that I would have acquired, because I just wouldn't have had the patience to do it otherwise. Now, another hard hobby for me is music. I'd love to be able to make music, but it's just been a hard thing for me to learn. In the same way programming was. The main difference is you don't need music to make a game like you need programming. So I've kind of been putting off making music. If I can, I will add the very first song, if I have it available here. If I can, I'll add the first song I ever made for my very first video game. And that was just me kind of riffing, and it's not that bad. It's the only song I have in the game, so it gets kind of annoying really quickly. But when it comes to actually learning music theory and how to play piano or any instrument, I have an extremely hard time. And it's just something that I haven't been able to get myself to learn. And I think that's just because it hasn't been a necessity for me. And with art, that is kind of like an in-between thing. So I'd love to get better at art, and I am trying to get myself to draw more, particularly because the game I'm working on is a hand-drawn art game. But the thing is that I'm good enough at art, so it's more fun for me to learn, because if I'm not perfect at it, it doesn't matter. I can have a terrible art style, and as long as it's coherent, then it can visually be okay for a game. And sound effects are just fun. I recently did a game jam. Actually, there were multiple game jams. I had one game jam where I made a laser effect. And that was just by having a key down in Ableton Live. Then I put it into Audacity, and I did the wah-wah effect and got it to sound like a pulsating laser beam. And then for another game jam I did in Unity, I had a UI effect for when you select something, and had this kind of PlayStation 2 sound to it. I don't know how to describe it. If I can get the effect, I'll put it in this video as well. Next was on to the sound effects. I blew in front of my microphone for the wing flapping sound. I clicked my tongue for the bat clicking echo sounds. I flicked a coffee mug for the pause sound. And I recorded that, and I just changed the pitch to something that was really low pitched. And it had this really cool sound. So sound effects are a lot of fun, and it's fairly easy to get into. So just looking at all the different hobbies that are required to make games, for me, like, it really came down to a mix between how easy it was and how, I guess, how much I needed it to do what I ultimately wanted to do. Now, for somebody who is purely interested in music because they wanted to be a composer like John Williams, I mean, that would be their motivation right there. Same if somebody wanted to just program, just to be able, I don't know, to be a hacker or to get an IT job. Maybe that would be motivation enough to learn programming. For me, game design has always been the thing that I was interested in since I first started playing games. I wanted to know how they were made. And that, for me, like I had mentioned earlier, was how I overcame my resistance to learning how to program, because it was something that was needed for me to do this hobby. And The thing is, though, is that now that I've acquired the skill of learning to program, particularly in GML, the language that GameMaker uses, game design has become a whole lot easier for me. And that is another challenge that I have because if I have to, I've limited time and I could spend an hour dedicated to game design, or I could spend an hour dedicated to learning to make music. And my natural instinct will be to go to game design because I can get more done in an hour because I already know how to program and I know how to design a game. So something like music I just put off. But I am interested in that, though, about like other people, because I need a lot, like, for me, learning to program was a lot of motivation. I did it because I absolutely had to, and I basically learned it because I was trying to get around learning it, and I just happened to learn it kind of as a side effect of that. Which I was super happy about. I'm super happy about it now, and it makes me, knowing that I can learn something like that does help in learning new skills, but it is definitely challenging. Okay, let's get this. Oh, I haven't even been using the upgrades, jeez. But yeah, what are some of your hobbies, and what do you think about sticking with hobbies and prioritizing hobbies, I guess, because I don't know, we can only do so many. But like I said, for game design, I need a bunch of them. And eventually I'd like to get to the point where, I could just get somebody to do music for me. But for the time being, I'm doing everything by myself. But yeah, I'm wondering about you guys. What are your hobbies? What kind of hobbies do you guys have, and how long have you been doing them and all that good stuff? So yeah, I'm just interested in hearing about that. So yeah, that's about it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.